Well, let's go ahead and get started. I'll call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I think that's got to stop blinking, Mike. It takes it a minute.
Stop.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I didn't realize that, Jeff. Becky usually takes care of this.
Yeah, she said it takes.
Could I get a moment of silence, please?
It's good now.
All right, thank you. I want to welcome everybody who's here and also who's viewing. Let's start with the roll call. I'm going to start with Commissioner Doug Smith this morning.
Here.
Mr. Stephen?
Here.
Mr. Culberson?
Here.
Mr. Cos?
Here.
And the other Smith is here. Thank you. I don't think there was anybody here for public comment, was there, Mark? Okay.
Nobody had signed up for public comment, Commissioner.
We'll move on. Administrative business. Meeting day of October 19th, KAC conference, October 18th and 20th. I believe we got our dates mixed up last time, and we'll need to make a change on that.
What is the date?
The conference is the 18th to the 20th.
Okay, and that's Monday
Through Wednesday.
through Wednesday, so
Yeah.
we could have a Thursday meeting,
That's what everybody.
Friday meeting. What's everybody's pleasure?
Thursday?
Thursday.
All right.
Good for that. Okay.
Need a motion on that?
Do we, Mark? We need a motion on that?
No, we'll just adjust it when we put the notice out for the week before. So you want that on the 21st then?
Yes. Okay, we need to select voting delegates and 2 alternates for the KAC conference. The 3 are attending are myself, Mike,
Me.
and Jeff. Okay. Who wants to be the voting delegate?
I don't know with my railroad schedule exactly if I'm going to be there the whole time, so I would prefer one of you guys do it.
Jeff?
Yeah, I'll do it.
And Mike and I be the alternates?
Sure.
Okay.
You do. That does require a motion.
Okay.
All right. Mr. Chairman, I move that Commissioner Jeff Culberson be a voting delegate at the KAC conference, and that Commissioner Mike Smith and Mike Stevens be alternates.
Second. Motion a second. Any more discussion on that issue? If not, I'll call a roll. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
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 Aye. All right. Mark, do you have anything before we move on?
Nothing other than that.
Okay. Judge?
Mr. Chairman, I have one thing,
Alrighty.
just to follow up on the conversation we had last week about the fire hydrants.
Okay.
Does anyone have any update on that?
Commissioner Smith, members of the commission, yes, I've been in conversation with your planning and zoning staff. They exchanged a series of emails between an engineer for a proposed subdivision, the chief of fire district number 1. It's with respect to the possible installation of fire hydrants in a new proposed subdivision. The crux of the matter is that the water district that serves that area can provide roughly half of the fire flow that the fire department is designating as being required, and that to increase that, I'm not certain if the water department could even provide that type of flow regardless of the size line installed, but it would require either an 8 to 12 inch line be installed in that subdivision. I do not believe it was the intention of this board when adopting your most recent building codes to require the upgrade of water district facilities sufficient to allow the installation of fire hydrants in a subdivision, in all new subdivisions in the county. Quite frankly, that would severely curtail development in the county. In discussing with your planning and zoning staff, they're checking to see if the building codes that you adopted specifically reference that. It may be that the fire chief is believing that KSA 31-101, its sequence, supersedes that. If so, no order has been issued under that act, and you would have the right to appeal that if such an order were issued. However, we're looking into whether we would need to amend our building code resolution to delete any reference requirement to make that upgrade or work to resolve the issue with the fire department. Again, it's my understanding it was not the intention of this board to require significant upgrades to allow the installation of fire hydrants in subdivisions, but to require them when the infrastructure was existing and could be installed. I'm not certain, I do not believe that it was ever the intention of this board to have decorative fire hydrants installed in subdivisions, because at 500 gallons a minute flow, if 1,000 is required, that fire hydrant's, it's a yard gnome. I mean, it will not suffice to provide fire protection, but we're working on getting that issue resolved. I realize it is a matter of time importance, so
Okay.
more to follow.
Okay.
I know when I was chairman of Rural Water District 13, we had a lot of, they looked like fire hydrants, but they weren't really fire. They were placed in subdivisions, I think some in Rocking Sea even, but they could be used to fill the tank of a fire engine when it's there, but they did not have the flow.
Right. The
To,
ISO ratings on that.
Right. They didn't have the flow, but they still had the ability to fill tanks on a fire engine.
Commissioner Steve, what you're referencing are referred to as standpipes.
Right.
That's not a fire hydrant, however. So we're trying to get the issue resolved. Under the interpretations being forwarded, I really think you'd put a stop to almost all subdivision development in the county.
Yeah, and that's not our
So
intent.
we wouldn't need the building codes in. So,
Well,
That's one way to look at it.
yeah. Okay.
I think that's a very positive way to look at it.
Well, we don't control rural water districts.
No.
They're their own separate boards. They provide drinking water. You can't run 12-inch water lines all over the county and have a handful of houses on it. Water. So
Okay.
hopefully we'll get it worked out. Doesn't delay anybody's plats or anything like that.
Any other commissioner have anything? Okay, I'll move right along. Consent agendas, any item on the agenda that needs to be removed? Okay, if not, I'll take a motion.
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? Start the roll call. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, formal board action, case number DEV 21-124, a temporary special use permit for Kansas for Health Freedom Group located at Deer Ridge Event Center. I believe I need to open a public hearing on this. Is there anyone here wishing to speak in favor of the temporary special use permit? All right, is there anyone here wishing to speak in opposition of the temporary special use permit? Seeing there's none, I'll close the public hearing unless any commissioners had anything.
I guess I just had a question why this facility needed a special use permit.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The reason why this requires a temporary special use permit is that the facility that has the special use permit for an event center has an accommodation up to 500 people. So any event that's going to take place on this property that has more than the 500 required needs to go through a temporary special use permit.
How many were they anticipating?
800.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So is this going to happen quite often? He'll have to come back every time he wants to have over 500? I mean, does the applicant anticipate more than 500?
I believe there was a conversation before I got here to the county where he had considered coming back and reapplying for a special use permit that allowed for a higher number, but a decision was made that he would just come back on these special events that have the higher number capacity than permitted through his special use permit currently.
Okay.
Property owner, I can speak to that.
Okay.
Who's that?
Dr. Peterson.
Yeah. Hey. Morning.
Morning. Yeah, Mark Peterson, owner of Deer Ridge Estate. Just a little history on this whole process. We actually put in an application for a second event center on the property. That was approved by planning and zoning, but I had also asked for maybe 3 or 4 events a year that might be 1,000, up to 1,000 people. Well, that requires traffic studies and yada, yada, yada. And so that came to you guys and was put on hold pending a traffic analysis. Well, it was difficult for us to know exactly what events might occur on the property. As it turns out, this is exactly what we were kind of thinking might happen at some point. And so, there's an opportunity to 3 or 4 times a year ask for a special event permit, which is what is before you today. So I thought, well, since we don't know, maybe we'll just, for the next year or two, just see how many events and do a special event permit. And so that's why we're in this process. Well, in the meantime, unfortunately, last week the event got moved to Lenexa because they couldn't. They had people coming from out of town. They weren't comfortable that this process was going to complete, and they didn't want to send out invitations. It was kind of a cool event, actually. Bobby Kennedy's one of the speakers. It was a pretty neat deal. I don't know that if it gets approved today that they would come back and say, oh yeah, because they're over the moon about the property. I think it's perfect, but the process, I didn't realize it'd take that long. They didn't realize it'd take that long. There is a process, and steps, and back and forth, and so I think that in the future I will work with planning and zoning to get a permanent solution.
Exactly.
Because I can't market the property. Somebody comes, but it might be a month or 2
Yeah, that makes
before
sense.
we know whether we can get approval. Yeah. So I'd still like to complete this process today so that I can at least let them know. Yeah. And then this may be an annual event that they would want to do. And it's a little frustrating. We're all struggling during this pandemic, trying to make ends meet.
Well, your facility, I don't know if all the commissioners have been there. And he's added another. He upgraded the road. He asphalt or blacktopped the road out of his own. The county didn't require him to do that. He did it on his own. So I wouldn't think a traffic study would.
It was not about the road. It was about the traffic. Okay. That many cars. Are they all going to come at the same time? And it's Monday morning at 8:30, and school buses and kids. There were concerns about that, and so we did do a traffic study.
Well, there's got to be a way we can look at this and not hold anything up like that.
Right.
That's never our intent. Is to make sure the rules are followed, but also never to stop something like this event, if possible, from occurring. So
and we don't want to cause problems with traffic.
Right.
But we do know how to run an event. This from top to bottom. We've been doing this a while, and.
But there's not a house from 207th Street to Donahue Road.
There's not.
And you paved the road.
Right.
So it sounds like the problem is the magic number of 500. Is there a formula we came out with that?
So the special use permit for the second venue, if it had a capacity of 500 and the first one had a capacity of 500, then that would cover it. And it's very rare that we have events that large, but this is the type of thing that a corporate retreat or a picnic or something like that.
Right. No, because I understand you don't want to allow a Woodstock situation, but
he's got the room. He's off the road. It'd be perfect.
But if we change it from 500 to 1,000 for the one place, would that solve the problem?
Yeah, and that's what that second SUP was going to do. However, it was paused in its process, therefore it was never approved.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. Without adding the second building, what if you just made the number 1,000 per event center?
That is something that I think this body can look into, but we would have to amend their SUP that they currently have.
Commissioners, do you have process in place right now, and it has thresholds that were set up by our traffic engineers.
That's
that
what I
said
was-
when you reach this threshold, you need to do a traffic study.
That's what I was
It's
looking at.
not just the road that services them, but also the traffic coming
Right.
through that. And probably right now, if you drive down to the south end of the county, we have a situation where traffic backs up because of sunflowers. So
Right.
we don't want to run into something like that without where we've created it because we didn't do take the necessary steps to be prepared.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's why I was asking if Olson had a hard 500 number or if that was.
It's based on the type of vehicle as
Okay.
well. 3 semis is the equivalent of 500 cars, basically. So it just depends on the type of vehicle as well. Each one is they put their application in, it's reviewed, and they make a determination on whether or not. At the 500, it didn't need the traffic study. When they got to the 800 plus, then they felt that it did.
That's
and
what I was.
so the process would be, and I think they're like they've said, they've already started. It's just been put on pause. To get it permanently changed, you just go through and get a new SUP issued that allows for the increased volume.
Okay.
So there's a process. It's just in this case, the temporary SUP is quicker,
Okay.
and that's why they do
Okay.
it this way.
Well,
Got it.
Dr. Peterson, maybe you should plant some sunflowers and we'll call it agritourism. And
I was
then
thinking
you'll need it.
lavender, that goes with weddings.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and lavender would be awesome.
Sounds like Basher needs a special use permit then on 155th.
As I drive around, I see stuff going on.
Okay. All right. I just didn't want to see because like I said, he has made a really huge investment in this property, and it is a really nice property, and it's really good for the county.
Yeah, when we started this process, I promised you a shining star for Leavenworth County, and I think we're getting there.
Yeah.
He did.
And we really appreciate you paving the road.
Right. So do my neighbors. 3 neighbors called to ask if they needed to come and support me today. So that's positive.
Yeah. Okay.
So can we complete this process for this special event?
We're getting ready to
Oh,
vote.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that wasn't my intention. Delay it till you.
We're getting ready.
No. I just don't want to see you have to go through
Okay,
this.
somebody want to give me a motion on this? It's right in front of you.
All right. I move that, Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve case number DV 21-124, temporary special use permit for Deer Ridge Event Center for one-day conference for Kansas for Health Freedom Group.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion on it? I'll call the roll. Mr. Smith?
Aye.
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 Aye. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, consider a motion to accept the selection committee recommendation to award design engineering and construction engineering for HRRR Tonganoxie Shoulder additional project to MHS. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Commissioners. So previously, the selection committee had met on August 11th and reviewed the submittals for the design of Tonganoxie Road for the high-risk rural roads project. We had received 2 proposals for that project. MHS was selected and by the selection committee for a recommendation for approval for the design and construction engineering services for that project. With that, I can turn it over to you for any questions or comments you may have regarding that process.
I don't know. I was at the
No.
selection committee.
Yeah, I think it's ready to go. I'm good.
Commissioner Stevens.
I'm just glad we're having this done.
Glad we're getting it started and
Mhm.
finishing on 11.
Mike, you want to give me a motion then?
I make a motion that we accept selection committee recommendations to award design engineering and construction engineering for the HRRR Tonganoxie Shoulder additional project to MHS.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Mr. Smith?
Aye.
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 Aye. Right. Consider a motion to approve agreement number 19921 with Kdodd for the cost share program award at 158th Street Roadway Safety Improvement for FY 2022. No.
Yes. Today, for your consideration, we have, these seem redundant because we keep having agreements, but You have a lot of agreements, at least 3, sometimes 4, to get to the point where you're actually assigned a project number. This agreement is a continuation of the previous agreements. This should be our final agreement for this project. It does articulate out that we have 36% approximately being funded, that we get $900,000. We will pay for that $900,000 and then be reimbursed by Kdodd for those funds. So it is a reimbursement agreement for the $900,000 for 158th Street. It did assign us the project number 52KA-611901. And that's important because we cannot get those funds until we have that project number. So this process had been held up for at least 6 months. And so once we return this, we are allowed to move forward with the projects. We did have a utility coordination meeting last week where we had a really good turnout. All the utilities were present. The only utility that had any real concerns with the time frame was the rural water district. We'll be following up with them here in the coming weeks, but we do intend to start this project by February.
Okay. What was that project number you needed, the motion?
It's agreement number 19.
Well, no, I meant the 52.
Yeah, the project number is 52KA-6119-01 on the top of the agreement.
Yeah.
All right. So we don't need that for the motion.
Just the agreement.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the agreement 199-21 with KDOT for a cost share program award for 150th Street roadway safety improvement for year of 2022.
A second. We have a motion, a second. Any more discussion on this? I like what I see, Bill. If not, I'll call the roll. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
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 Aye. Completed. Thank
Bill,
you.
before you leave, the email that you sent out last week on the other notice that we received, it might be just.
Yep. So to provide you a quick update, on Friday, I did send out an email that stated we had received a notice that we were successful in our application for the off-system bridge program. It's an 80/20 state and local funding project, and so it is for ST 100, which is on Fairmount Road, and so that project had a estimated cost of, I believe, around $705,000, and so we would receive $565,000, if I remember correctly, in state funding through that grant, and then we would be responsible for the other $135,000 for that project, and that is a design, inspection, and construction grant. So it's a good grant. They're highly competitive. I think that statewide they were going to hand out approximately $7 million worth of those grants, so we did receive about 8% of the total funding.
Bill, hats off to you and your staff. This is excellent, and I just love seeing the continued improvements we're able to get out there and get done. I mean, we've got a couple excellent ones that just keep coming, so we expect more. Right?
Stay on track. We
That's
need
right.
2 bridges a year going on.
Yeah.
Keep your pencil sharp.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It'll be a 2023 project, and we are hard and fast on that timeline because with the new KAC notice that came out, I don't know how many of you may have seen that yesterday, but KDOT has changed their rules, and so those groups who do receive funding who do not complete the process in the 18-month window that they provide will lose funding
Right.
now.
Okay.
So we're just kicking these down the road and bidding them out the next year, but they will no longer do that. You will lose that funding and resubmit it. So
Okay.
we will be hard and fast staying on that timeline of 2023 construction.
Where are we at on the transportation study? What's the progress on the?
We're awaiting a final report. We've been back and forth with AIR on numerous occasions, and so currently we're just awaiting whatever the conclusion of their final report would be.
No, I mean the state. Like you're working with the various cities to do this regional,
The regional
transportation study. Where are we at on that?
And so that went to the selection committee. It was discussed because we only had received the one proposal, and there were some concerns. KDOT did not voice a strong opinion regarding the use of GBA since they aren't on a pre-qualified list. They seem to be not argumentative too much on that fact, but the fact that we had one proposal was a concerning factor, and we did reach out to those firms. I think that there was a lot of interest. There was concerns with the time frame, whether or not we put that out again. So there was a decision reached to put that out again. So hopefully by the end of this month, we will put that out for proposals again for another 60-day period, and we're hopeful to receive at least 3.
Good. Okay.
We're good.
Ready.
One question,
Go ahead.
Mr. Knoll. On 155th Street in Bayshore, was that the county that put up the radar speed signs that it'll post your speed as you drive by, or is that the city?
That would be the city.
Yeah.
That'd be the city. Okay.
Yeah.
Does that count traffic? It does count traffic, counts speed, so we have the data.
They might know, but
Okay.
I don't. You're talking about the flashing signs?
Yeah, that flash your speed when you go by.
Yeah,
They have traffic counters. They have traffic counters in them. Are they very expensive?
$3,100.
$3,100.
Yeah, City of Lansing has one too.
Okay.
So.
I just thought it'd be a good sign to put up on some of our roads that we get a lot of complaints about speed, and then we'd have the data and say, well, no, everybody's. A lot of people complain about speed.
Yeah, especially after we improve a road.
Right.
Okay.
That's pretty pricey.
Yeah.
And the tar situation on K32, you did that. KDOT's been notified of that.
KDOT's aware of that situation, so those folks who had any type of tar situation occur on K32 do need to contact KDOT directly. County, that's not a county project, and so we wouldn't have any real input into that matter, but we are redirecting those people to the Bonner Springs KDOT office. And
Okay.
They are aware of it.
I did get a lot of phone calls this weekend about
We're very
that.
happy, were they?
And it's not it's not a county project. So
It's not a county road.
I would have drove down there just to get the undercoating.
Keep the rust out.
And now Eisenhower project at 20th is completely closed, and the detours are up, and that'll be through the duration of the project now? Is that
Pretty much
plan
the
that it'll
duration,
be-
yeah. We have one box culvert that's just to the west of the industrial park entrance, and the way that project was designed, we build those a half at a time. So with the cure periods of that, will dictate the remaining schedule. So yeah, we're looking at November probably before paving, and that road's all backed up.
Right.
So
I'm just making sure
October.
people understand that's going to be the duration of the project, so prepare
Per the
accordingly.
contract, it could be closed until December 31st.
Right. I'm just making sure people understand that they need to schedule their time and things accordingly, because there's going to be a lot of traffic delays is getting back and forth, because traditionally has been a very busy intersection, so
You got to get it
a
over.
lot of delays because the schools run 10th Avenue. There's 2 public schools that are on 10th Avenue, so kind of schedule your time accordingly, because you're going to be delayed at those intersections.
Well,
so.
if you're trying to go by Quick Trip on Main Street and
You'll have
saying,
that
please
too."
take the Soda Road, especially in the morning, you will have time to rest for a while before you get through that light. But, at the same time, all these things we're talking about, it's growth, it's positive,
right.
and it's going to serve us very well. So, folks, bear with us.
I took your advice, and I was there when school let out yesterday on 147th Street.
Is that right? Yeah. Now, there's certain times you got to stay away from that.
Well, that's what I'm just saying. There's going to be a lot of delays because
I got caught this morning, Doug.
of Eisenhower Road being
Yeah.
closed through there is
Yeah.
going to really cause some people to.
All right.
Sometimes when the public reaches out to us about state highway projects and they complain about this or that or raise a concern, I have to say that sometimes when we elevate the message on up, sometimes that gets taken to heart. When I found out, we're doing the road, they're going to level the hill there at K32 and the church. And they're also apparently out there at Helen's Hilltop on Parallel and K16, going to level that hill. So those are projects that are actually in the pipeline, and and all these projects we worked on for road safety. I think you're going to see a lot of improvements in road safety from what we've been able to accomplish, and And I'll give credit to my fellow commissioners for that.
I'm glad to see it happening. I think it's great, county.
And to Bill, and to Mark, and everybody else who deserves credit, and Kdodd.
Okay. Thank you, Bill.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
Presentations, we have the City of Basel presentation of 155th Street. Good morning and welcome. Mayor, don't give me that deer in the headlight look. It's your turn. Welcome, Mayor.
Welcome. Thank you very much. Appreciate the time. Obviously, you are all well aware that 155th, we're real fortunate that we were able to be successful in getting a grant from Mark. And I have just a little presentation that I'd like to start with. But first of all, I'd like to thank my City Council for being here today. We have Sherry Standiford here. Thank you. We have Ben Sims. Also, we have Dick Drinnens here today up there. Then also we have some staff members up there. Gene Miracle is at Public Works. Maddie's our assistant. And then Leslie Riverola is our city administrator.
Welcome.
Welcome.
So I certainly appreciate their support on this huge project. There again, we're real lucky to be able to talk to you today and be able to get that going. Obviously, we're going to just start the little slide on there. Obviously, it shows the project. It's 155th. It's starting at State Avenue, and it's going to go basically down to the City Council. I don't know if everyone is familiar with that road, but that road is actually a county route. So there's that. As you can see, the population of Basel has just exploded. Certainly in 2010 to 2020, we've grown from 4,600 to 6,800. That was also done in April of 2020. Certainly now that, it's a year from now, so we're probably looking at about 7,200. So we're pretty moving pretty fast. The growth is really coming to the city of Basel. As you can see, that's showing 155th and Parallel. That's obviously one of the main intersections. That's a lot of issues are developed right there due to the fact that we have school, and at certain times, as Mike kind of pointed out to Doug a little bit, that area is you want to try to avoid that area from actually about 7:15 to about 9:15 during the school days. You're having more difficult to get through there. There's actually probably about anywhere from a 5 to 6 minute wait minimum if you're trying to be heading east and west off Parallel. Certainly that project is trying to modernize it. Overall safety, certainly with the school and that being the area. There's two great schools that are down to the north of 155th and Parallel, and certainly that's a big consideration. Next slide, please. As you can see, here's just a concept drawing that we have from our engineers. It may or may not look exactly like this, but certainly that's the intent, is to be able to move traffic and keep the traffic flow moving. Certainly we have a lot of young drivers that are right there at the high school. Certainly they get a little confused once in a while when we have that area. So that's certainly something that we need. We're obviously looking at putting a 10-foot wide multi-use path for pedestrians and bike traffic. Certainly I think that's really important to be able to move that. We'll be able to have our sidewalks will be able to connect there again the grade school, the high school, and eventually we'll be able to go to our trade center, which is right at 155th and State Avenue. Also be able to connect 155th and 158th with those paths. Next, please. There again, we could not have done this without the help from Leavenworth County. Certainly we appreciate everything that everyone's done. Also, I'd like to just say that you well know about 5 years ago, Vernon Fields took the position with the STP. He's been working extremely hard for 5 years to be able to get where we're at today. without his work and without the support of Leavenworth County. And I'd like to thank Leavenworth County for being able to appoint him and to move this thing forward. So also without the help from Bill Knoll, we'd like to thank Bill. Appreciate everything that he's done. We got down to about the red zone, and Bill was certainly very, very instrumental in moving that over that gold line and being able to get that here to Leavenworth County. There again, it's been a pleasure to be able to work with Leavenworth County. As you can see, we scored 85. We were the number one road score, the highest score. We also was awarded $7.435 million grant for this project. We competed with, obviously, Olathe, Lenexa, Overland Park, which has tremendous staff, tremendous resources. Leavenworth County and our staff competed with those people, and obviously we did really well. I can't be more proud of our staff, and I can't be more proud of Leavenworth County for being able to get this type of project. Next, please. As you can see, $7.4 million. It's the most grant money awarded since Mark has been in existence, and it comes to a city of 6,800. That is really, really quite the accomplishment. Quite the accomplishment up there. This is the time frame. Obviously, we're starting as we speak, 11/21. You can look at that's just the starting of the project. We'll be expending money here in the fourth quarter for obviously the field surveys, and you can go and look it down the line on that right there. So the project is moving forward. As you can see, there's some of the things that the $7.4 million is for construction. These are the items that you see up in the front that are not being engineered, right-of-way acquisition, the moving of utilities. It basically comes out of the pockets of our constituents. As you can see, there's a gap of $3.82 million. And that's basically, next one, please. With that being said, we're certainly looking for support to close that gap. Anything that Leavenworth County can do for us up in there is appreciated. And there again, I'm just here today to see if how well we can close the gap at $3.8 million. So with that being said, I'll turn it over to you. If you have any questions or any concerns up there, we certainly would address them. Certainly the project, Leslie and Maddie are certainly completely involved in that. They certainly would probably be able to answer questions a little bit better than I would on that deal. So
we could, whatever amount the county was going to contribute or decided to fund, that could be spread over a number of years?
Yes, because obviously the project is not going to, the construction project is scheduled to start to 24. Is that correct?
2024.
So that definitely is a possibility. And I think that would also obviously help budgets, procedures, and that sort of thing. But the answer to your question is absolutely.
Can we bring maybe the staff kind of up so that we can kind of ask questions, so that we're not hollering back and forth to the.
But if the project's going to start in 2024, there's got to be right-of-way acquisition, utility relocation, design. All that's got to be done prior to that.
That is absolutely correct. That has to be done.
Which that money has to be paid. You can't. It's not a draw off of Kdodd's money.
That is correct. Mm-hmm. That is correct. It is not a draw off Kdodd money. It is money that has to be paid as we can, as those things are done. The relocation of utility lines, the acquisition of property, the engineering costs up there. All those are expenses that have to be paid right away as soon as they're complete.
I know this is a county road. This is County Route 7. It is the county's road. But I wouldn't be in favor of a percentage because we don't know what the percentage will be in 2024. I mean, I'd hate to commit funds on something like that. I'd rather commit a dollar amount, and like I said, it is our road, and if we turn our back on this money and it goes away, it's still our road, and we're still going to be responsible for some improvements on this road.
Yeah. Obviously, when we make the improvements up there, then the responsibility of that road becomes the city's.
Well, yeah, we'd have to do an MOU or an interlocal agreement, which we should have one in place anyways.
Yeah.
We don't. I mean, I'm sure it's expired.
Mark, our budget, as far as looking in the future or things like this, because this would be sales tax, right?
Well, Commissioners, that's primarily where we fund any of our road projects through, are the sales tax funds. Eisenhower Road, 147th in the Baser area, McIntyre, those were all sales tax projects. And that's really the only place we have funds for. Our road and bridge fund is for maintenance. It's not for new construction like this. So if this road was built new like they're proposing, there would be a certain savings to the county over several years for the fact that we wouldn't be doing maintenance on that stretch of road. But other than that, I can't imagine that would be $600,000 to $1 million or whatever the city would like. So yes, if you wanted to commit funds, it would need to come from sales tax. And currently, as you're familiar, as we work through our CIP program, all those funds are committed to county projects at this time. So it would be a reallocation of those funds or reprioritization if you wanted to allocate money to this project.
Where are we at on our the resolution that was passed in 2014 to bond up to $40 million? We're at 30 something right now.
Well, Commissioners, while we may still have budget authority or authority left on that resolution for more debt, as you've heard me say for the last 5 years, you're mortgaging your future for your current by putting that debt on the county. We have fewer years now to pay the debt off if you would put debt on. And we started issuing bonds against that money before we ever received our first.
Well, we didn't.
Well,
this
the
board
county,
didn't. We had commissioners that took a payday loan.
And so, as I've said all along, I prefer to pay as you go if at all possible. It's just that way we're not paying some investors interest on money that we know we're going to have in the future. It's guaranteed money for them. If we can just delay projects, it works out better. In this case, you can't delay that.
Mark, let me ask you this. With the growth that Baser's experiencing, and
it'll make the payment.
Yeah.
Well, so the growth, there's growth in Baser. Obviously, they've showed you the numbers. It's the fastest growing community, obviously, in our county, and has been for the last 20-some years, I believe. It's also one of the top 5 in the state for the last 15 to 20 years as well. I think the last 2 censuses have ran that. I think last census it was number 1, and this time it's number 2. So it's growing. That growth doesn't necessarily reflect in a growth in sales tax for the county. It helps, but it's not, because even though they're fast growing, it's not, as a percentage of our total population, it's not huge numbers. So while they're maybe growing 50%, that doesn't mean our sales tax collection is growing 50%, just to be clear on that. Where the growth is in our property valuation. And that is significant in Baser. The homes that are going up down there have about the highest average other than in the county because of property, so it's very high average value. The concern, though, is that is part of our budget process. And when we adopted this budget we just did it 2 weeks ago, we adopted the budget for next year. We didn't allocate extra money to a project like this. We allocated it to our roads. And again, the road and bridge fund is maintenance. It's not new construction. If you wanted to create a benefit district, let's say, which is kind of what we have going on here, it said any new taxes collected out of Baser would go towards this project. That's in principle what you're asking me, I believe. Could we do it? Obviously, Board of County Commissioners can make those decisions during the budget process.
You know, Mark, one of the things I look at, and I understand, being a past city manager, I understand you're telling the facts just the way they are, but, you know, Leavenworth County's passed some opportunities in the past that we should have jumped on, and we've kicked things down the road. I mean, you know, I was invited and I stood where Wyandotte County Speedway is at now. If those folks would have looked at that and said, no, we don't want to take the chance or risk, even though it was a solid one to do, we probably wouldn't have what we've got down there. I wouldn't have minded, because then Leavenworth County would have benefited, because they're getting all the revenue. And I'm not saying there is a way to do this, but I really would like to help continue to grow Leavenworth County. It doesn't matter to me if it's Basehor, Lansing, Tongi, something like that. They've gone out and got a $7 million grant. And it's all possible. We need to find a way. Maybe we can't give them all the amount, but we need to come up and help somehow.
Well, it
still
is the county's road. Yep. It's not a city street. And I think you just keep talking about the Basehor valuations. I think you need to include Fairmount Township. I mean, the Fairmount Township Fire Department is sitting right on this street.
Yeah.
You know, and they provide fire protection for Basehor and Fairmount Township. And let's face it, a lot of the Fairmount Township residents go down 155th Street.
Well, certainly the school district is obviously bigger than Fairmount Township
absolutely.
up there too, and certainly we're talking about safety of our children and the ability to move traffic from one point to another point, which is basically our retail area, which is at State Avenue. But certainly the safety issue starts to become more and more an issue. Obviously, we just touched base with kids that are driving, but certainly there's kids that are riding bicycles, and they'll be going also to some of our Metro Trail that's going from 155th to 158th Street are going to be on that road as we develop that. So certainly it becomes a safety issue, not just for the Leavenworth County citizens of Basehor, but the Leavenworth County citizens in general certainly are use that road an awful lot. So certainly that is. Are you talking about the growth in our community? Certainly the growth in our community has boomed. I mean, certainly you can see that in the valuation, not just in the valuation of the Basehor, but obviously in the valuation of the Fairmount Township, as you pointed out, Doug. So those numbers right there are way beyond what you're thinking. I mean, certainly I know the last 3 years, the increase, and it's going to keep going. We've already got 80 new homes already on file right now. We looked at we're probably going to be right at 100. We certainly have some other subdivisions that are ungrown that are going to be filling up. We don't know that right now. Certainly we have several plats that are available. So we're going to keep growing on that. So that road is going to go. So if you look at what we've done, we're growing at about 300 to 400 residents a year, population-wise. So in 4 years, so you got 2022 coming up in 2 or 3 years, we're putting another 1,000 people that are going to be going up and down that road.
Plus the new business out on 158th.
Plus the new business out on 158th, absolutely. So, we just need to, I do believe if you look at the big picture of what Basehor's doing, and certainly Mark is a benefit district up there like that. If we took the Avalora tax that's been generated up there, there's certainly way enough money to bond that type of project without really putting a benefit district in place, because the growth is what's happening. As you guys can see, that the growth has jumped $200, $300, almost $400,000 in 1 year. $350,000 in 1 year is what the growth has happened up there. That's basically a 10% growth in the amount of money that's coming out of Basehor.
And as the city bonded,
$3 million a year comes from the Leavenworth City Council. From the Leavenworth citizens of Basehor comes up here to Leavenworth. So last year there was over a 10% growth in that. I know that you've done the budget, but I certainly know that Mark and the budget team is not looking at factoring in 10% growth in their budget. That doesn't make sense.
Okay. Commissioner Stevens, you have something?
Just a suggestion that we take this and have a work session and look at some alternatives for the potential funding, and we just move that off. I mean, I don't think we're going to be able to make a decision today, but if we give our staff opportunity to draft up some alternatives. Then we can look at I certainly am in favor of
What
helping.
alternatives other we got then, other than bonding out for the sales tax?
Well, I don't know. I mean, they said they could stretch it over a period of time, several years, and so maybe we look at our CIP and we say, can we get a portion of that in our CIP, which we don't have now, and reprioritize some of the projects, and then maybe a portion of it would be bonded, but we could look at it.
Mike, I tend to agree with you. I support the project. I think Leavenworth County needs things like this to keep going. I think that's the direction these county commissions are going. But I'd like to have, and not in a long time, I'd like to have the staff present some things. I'm not one that's going to support property tax increases next year, but I think there's a way to get there without doing that. And I think we just need to answer some questions. That's not to say I disagree with the project, because I think it's an excellent project. But I think I'd just like to have a little more time with maybe a work session next week. I mean, we don't want to hold you up. We want to get this thing going, but maybe a work session just to make sure we're all clear on what we're doing here.
Well, I'd like to at least agree on a dollar amount. So we're not, because I said I'm against a percentage, because I don't have a crystal ball, but I can tell you when the infrastructure bill gets going, and there's going to be, I think prices are going to be up on projects.
Well, if we had a number we wanted to give the staff to look at and come back, Doug, I don't have a problem with that. Did you have a number, or were you looking at the?
Well, I mean, let's say you're $4 million gap. It's our road. At least 50%. I mean, it is a county route. It is our road. And we don't want to lose this money.
No.
I mean, we'll never have to worry about it again if we turn this money down.
I'm willing to look at 1.5.
Well, I mean,
I'd say at least $2 million. But
Okay, but I'm just saying, or there. I mean, I'm just saying going in half, or just.
Well, let's not go any higher than. Let's not go any.
We'll see where we're at $2 million.
Yeah.
Because like I said, your 3.8 is probably already up to 4
Oh, 3.8. I would.
With inflation.
Yep, I see. Okay, I wasn't looking. There we go. Yeah, I'm willing to go.
2 million.
Yep.
And
Well,
has
sir-
the city of Bayshore bonded lately? I mean, what is bond rates right now? I mean, they're historically low.
They have been anyway.
So we refunded some debt last year and then converted temp notes to a permanent financing situation, and we were right at about 2%. Our financial advisor just told us that he issued debt for a city out of Johnson County on about a $5 million issuance, and they were at 1.2.
Oh my!
Now's the time.
well,
It's over 4
my
years.
thinking.
I'm just saying over a 4-year period. You know.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. If you did it, and we could look at our CIP too and see where we're at. But if you're going to do $500,000 a year, you're talking pretty reasonable. I mean, we could get there, even with our CIP, and it might involve. We'll have to see what the staff.
Yeah, no,
looks at.
You know, I'm just
But however we do it, I'm willing to look at.
right because there's expense involved before they get to where they can start drawing
Right.
that money. That's what I just wanted to make sure this project stays on course, and we wash our hands of it. You know,
True.
just turn it over to the Bayshore Public Works Department. We walk away.
That's
They
true.
Bring it in their city, take care of it, maintain it.
Well, I certainly think that the growth of the city of Bayshore is going to continue.
Well,
And certainly,
Don't see it
like I said
stopping.
before up there with just with not even counting the sales tax, and I realize that you guys have certain buckets that money goes into. I got it.
now, this project is going to require relocation of any of the sewers, and then, of course, the project has stormwater sewer.
Utility.
Is that available through the American Recovery Act money?
Those
Any
projects are authorized under ARP funds. Water, stormwater,
But
wastewater.
could we give the money to that? But it wouldn't. That cover that part of the project?
I think it'd be yes, but not until they have an actual.
You'd have to
number.
perform the work and present us a bill.
They would at least have to have the bid work done before you could probably award those funds.
Well, certainly we appreciate anything that Leavenworth County's considering. Certainly, I do believe that Baser is paying its way to do this project. I don't think we should be able to jeopardize. I don't want to jeopardize any other project that is moving forward.
No.
And I do believe that with the sales tax increase, our sales tax increase has been between 8 and 10% every year for the last 5 years. We feel that that's going to continue as we develop the areas and get more restaurants in the area. We certainly think that our sales tax will go up. But we really believe that what's going up is obviously the ad valorem tax is booming. And there again, I just expressed that, it jumped in 1 year to $342,000. That's over 10% of what you're drawing out of the city of Bayshore. You're drawing over $3 million every year from the Leavenworth County citizens of Bayshore comes up here to support
Fairmount Township.
And I know that there's things that's allocated for and budgeted for, and we still need to continue that. I mean, I'm not saying that we need to take any money away from that. But I do believe that there's going to be generated enough money. If you go $2.5 million up there, and if you bond it at the percentage up there, you're looking at $150,000, $160,000 a year. That doesn't even take the $320. That still leaves $200,000 for Leavenworth County just in the ad valorem and the increase in the money.
No, I agree. I mean, that's a better return on our investment than these industrial parks we put money in.
I just want to make sure too, though, that we got oh Jesus.
Anyway,
I just caught that. Let me one thing, Mayor.
Excuse me.
I don't want to see county projects kicked down the road either. So with things like that, that's why we need to look at this again. You're already at the 2.5. We were at 2, Mayor. Nice try. But I just I'm kidding. But I think we need some time to do it because county projects we're on a roll, for no better word, to keep those things going.
So
But this is a big county project. Yeah.
Do we have to bond for anything or our other projects? We have to do some matching funds for, like 158th.
Right now, our projects, as per the CIP, we've cash flowed the rest of our projects that we have on the CIP. There is 1 year where it's going to drop probably just slightly below zero, I think, Bill. That's fine. But we think that by the time we get there, because we'll actually be bidding some of the projects, we'll be okay. But right now, the money that's there, we've allocated to projects that are ongoing. 10 years from now, we probably have some money. But reprioritization is where you would have to get this from sales tax. By moving a project a year or two down the road, or you could issue debt. I would strongly discourage that if at all possible. And the other thing with the ARP funds, one of the concerns that I would have is looking at their time frame, the 2024 construction. The money has to be spent by the time the ARP expires. So we have to be just a little careful on that. If our project got delayed at all, that part of the project would need to be done before the ARP expired if you were going to allocate those funds.
But the stormwater design or sewer line relocation, that could be spent by then.
As long as it's done in time, yes, absolutely. Those are the types of projects that would qualify for ARP funds.
I just want to see this project get away from us. So I think we've talked about, Mike, did you have something else? I think we've talked about getting a little time just to look over some of these numbers, Mayor and staff. And
I'm pretty sure that the mayor wasn't expecting to come up here today and us write him a $2 million check.
Sure I was.
Being a mayor, I think you was.
Well, I mean, we can expedite this as best we can, but we got to do it in an organized and the taxpayers are watching what we're doing here.
Oh, absolutely.
And
They're
so we
should have been watching back in 15 when they bonded $8.5 million and we paid $765,000 worth of interest before they spent a dime on it. That's when they should have been watching.
Well, I agree.
I mean, my gosh.
None of us were up there, so
I know.
But that is a good point.
Well, bonded money up there is not a bad thing. I mean, certainly in this time at 1.2% interest, I mean that's basically free money in a lot of ideas. I mean, as a business guy, If I could get 1.2% interest rate up there, you don't think I'm expanding my business? You don't
But you
think
want
I'm
to do
working
it,
trying
you
to
want
get
to
it
do a
done?
timely manner. You don't be making payments for 20 years.
But
10
maybe
20
we
years.
won't have to when we look at our CIP. Maybe we won't have to, but we do need to have a work session and see the different options that we have.
Absolutely, and I don't have any problem with that on the
Is
deal.
everybody okay with that?
So what is the time frame? What is the time
I'd say
frame
we
on
have a work
that?
session next week.
Can you be ready next week?
I think that's pretty short turnaround. We could have one. There's
I can't do it after 25th. I won't be here, so
We probably
There's
have to have it
something
next
there.
week.
we
He's
got
gonna
a
be
couple.
out.
I'm going to be out for a couple, so
there was
I
a
need to do it
conflict
next 2
week
weeks.
for somebody.
Was there a conflict? Oh, I think I told you originally there was. There's not anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering. I'm like,
I was thinking, well, who
Okay,
has
we don't
conflict?
have a conflict.
It's like 2 weeks, Mark.
Next week?
The 2 weeks we have our work session, we'll shoot for next week. I'll see what we can do.
Good. Okay.
If we can't by Friday, which is only a couple days
We'll
from
know
now, if we can't get the number what we need together, then I'll talk to you and let you know. We'll move it.
Okay.
Can your staff all be here?
Does the city have a deadline they need to commit these funds?
2 weeks.
How much?
You always tell the truth.
How much? Yeah. How much
Mayor,
funds
mayor,
have the city allocated towards this project? I mean, where's? I know you show a $4 million shortage. Obviously, there's something that the city was going to give towards that. You weren't expecting the project to be funded 100% by grant funds. So where's the city at with that?
We're about 2 weeks away from that.
So you haven't made that.
We're basically kind of waiting to see where we stand up there, if we can, where we can close the gap a little bit up there on what we're going to try to have to do. And certainly, we don't want to borrow money. We don't want to borrow money. We like to use it with cash flow.
No, we want to see what you want to do, and then we'll tell you what we'll do.
But no, certainly, this is a key. Obviously, it's a key in our options. Once we can figure out what we've got coming from the citizens, the Leavenworth County citizens of Basel. Certainly, we're going to work to do anything we can to make
Thank
the
you.
project happen.
Thank you, Mayor, for not giving us an answer to that question. We really appreciate that, but I know where you're coming from. So we'll wait. We'll look at the 2 million if that's okay.
I learned from the best.
I would just, like I said, I'd just like to figure out a dollar amount,
Yeah, we should have been.
commit it, and when we're done with this, and we don't have to worry about it ever again, and
And we're going to
the
keep
city
growing
will take over
so
the
we can do the other projects.
snow removal and maintenance of that street.
Yeah.
And
Well, with that being said, any other questions that you have on this at this particular?
no,
Commission.
I'm
We'll
not
see
worried
you
about-
next week.
not worried about being able to. If we did bond it, I'm not worried about the revenues coming in to make the payment on it. That's for sure.
Okay.
Well, I certainly appreciate your time. Certainly
Thank you, sir.
The Leavenworth County citizens of Basel appreciate your time, and we'll be looking forward to moving this project forward.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right,
We appreciate it.
for
Thank
your
you, staff.
presentation. Thank you.
All righty. Jeff, can we have those lights again?
Yep.
Give 'em on. Mark, did you have any, considering with presentation discussion, you have anything? Okay. Commissioners, y'all have anything else?
Are we going to have an update on some of the litigation issues?
Oh, yeah, I had one question on that.
Absolutely. When would you like it?
Well,
I just was, we're getting some emails from a few people on a case that was just on. I don't feel that we should answer them yet because there's still potential for
we should
appeal
answer them.
process to work.
Commissioners, if you're referring to the case of Cow Valley Industries versus Leavenworth County, a decision was rendered by the court last week, basically denying the appeal filed by Cow Valley. The court had earlier dismissed several damage claims by Cow Valley. However, Cow Valley Industries does have the right to file an appeal of that decision within 30 days from the date of the entry of the ruling. That period has not expired, will not expire for several weeks. In the interim period, I certainly would urge you to not discuss the matter with outside entities. We can discuss it in executive session if you would like in greater detail. However, there is a court ruling. I provided you a copy of it. That's a public record. So if you would, please limit any comments you have to referencing the court.
Well, I haven't responded to any of the emails, and I didn't
I wouldn't
want to
I'm aware that
because
you
of the appeal
receive
process.
emails that basically ask you to offer opinions on certain things, and I would counsel you to not do so.
Good advice.
So on a question on that, before we address anything related to the SUP itself, probably let the 30 days expire would be.
Until an appeal period runs the ruling, we do have a ruling in our favor, but it can be appealed.
Okay. Makes sense.
Doug, I'll start with you. You got anything else?
Let's see. Oh, the comp plan. We've seen a lot of buzz on Facebook about the comp plan. Do we have a date when we're going to revisit the comp plan and review it?
I'm not sure that there's been a date set specific. I think there was some discussion about waiting until our planning and zoning director is back to work.
Makes sense.
All right.
Yeah, that makes
I
sense.
mean, some of the stuff we should have just had Facebook do our comp plan instead of paying $280,000.
Anything else, Doug?
Tell us what you really think, Douglas.
No,
That's what I was thinking.
I mean, I supported the comp plan. It was on my push card when I was running. I said we've got to have a comp plan or update. I don't remember what I said. We needed a plan or a comprehensive plan, and I mean, I stand behind the comp plan. We went through all the procedure. We had meetings all over the county.
Yes, we did.
Had public input.
That's kind of the part I don't understand. A lot of the feedback I'm getting is nobody asked us anything. Nobody had any meetings. Nobody did any surveying. I don't understand where those people were. There's a section in the comp plan, a whole chapter on just the what they call them soirees.
Public engagement.
Yeah. So
Well, no, I tell you, I wouldn't even
Charrettes.
We all are.
Y'all did a real good job
So we
asking
spent
for comments.
6 months
There was a great deal of public
surveying and
input
reaching
and
out.
surveys.
Had
and-
meetings at school board offices and
Yeah, Jeff, you're right.
schools. I mean, we
I
spent,
saw it everywhere on Facebook and everywhere. Come to these meetings, these
So,
are the dates.
I'm
They're
not
set
sure
up, so it wasn't like the information wasn't getting out.
Yeah, I'm not
There
understanding
was
how they
plenty.
missed that.
It's
Yeah.
one
It
of
was-
those.
It is what it is.
I know, but I just,
I got you.
catch a lot on Facebook from it.
All of us, yeah.
Well,
And
there's
there's
lots of-
some legitimate things that are gaps that haven't been.
Well, and I
covered,
understand, and I agree with, Commissioner Cause when her concern was on the subdivisions by doing it, be able to split a 2.5 acre lot in an already platted 5 acre subdivision.
Yeah.
No, I think that needs to be revisited.
I agree.
But other than that, the whole preserving the agriculture, the 2.5 acres, just like Commissioner Culbertson's area last week. They just wanted to take a 2.5 acre chunk of a farmhouse out of a farm. And that preserved the agriculture. Other than that, you would have had to have 5 acres when it went out of production instead of 2.5 acres. So.
No, and sometimes preserving agriculture, like has been discussed, is a 2.5 acre plot can be a country estate just as well as a 5 acre plot, and you can actually have a better maintained property. So I mean, it's a case by case basis. It's not a one size fits all. And I do believe that the comprehensive plan is not the Bible. I mean,
Exactly.
So
It's a guide, it's a plan.
But you've got to have some really good reasons not to follow it, because we've adopted that.
Anything else, Doug?
No, I think I'm good.
Mike?
I had lunch with the new planning commissioner appointee, the dentist, Mr. Bailey, yesterday, and he's getting up to speed on everything, and really nice gentleman.
Yeah, he is.
Enjoyed it.
I did have one more thing.
Of course.
It was debated. Like Vernon Fields worked so hard on this, getting this money from the Mid-American Regional Council. I mean, through Kdodd. I mean, if he didn't mention Basher 5 times in a meeting, he mentioned it 25 times. I mean, he just He really worked hard, and he was pretty vicious.
Yeah.
He was very supportive of Baser, and without Vernon, I don't think we'd be having this conversation.
He was a good person to lead the way on that. You're absolutely right.
I'm too bad he's not here today.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Mike, anything
We
else?
can invite him to the work session next week.
Well, he can phone in. We'll just have him phone in.
Anything else, Mike?
That's all.
Jeff?
No, I mean, Easton City Council meeting was canceled last night to next week, so. I don't have anything.
Thank you.
Mental Health Task Force met yesterday. They just are continuing to move forward and address some of the issues that are continue to be faced by our community. We had another suicide in our community of a young person over the weekend, which was very unfortunate. City of Leavenworth met last evening, and they're moving forward with the final phases of plans for their local transportation plan that they've implemented, so that and they're partnering with the Guidance Center for that. And they approved their budget for the City of Leavenworth last evening, and with their special meeting, and I think that's pretty much it.
Revenue neutral.
Yeah.
Revenue
Oh,
neutral,
yeah.
yes.
You have to. I mean,
No, it did not remain revenue.
Not.
Oh, no,
Not.
they did not
No.
remain, no, they did not remain revenue neutral,
I don't know how you
and
can.
but I'm sorry, because they can't, but they
can't.
did approve their budget last evening.
Just the postage alone
Do a
for next
special
year.
meeting.
Blow you out of revenue neutral.
50,000.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. I don't know. Mark, do you have anything for the group?
No, sir.
Okay, we're going to have the work session right after this, or a 5-minute break after we do.
I'll write him.
Yeah, let's get a motion to adjourn, that everybody's good.
motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion adjourned second. I'll call the roll. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.